the ground. We are going to start mountain mobility tonight doing a little bit of core work. We'll warm up a little bit with some breathing, some head nods, and so on. Think about head nods when we do that typical head nod work, just nodding your head, as a very simple core exercise. Remember, sometimes movements are the intention of the movement is simple, but yet can become profound if we put a little bit more focus onto the hold or a breath or when we breathe. So let's come to the ground and we'll just start with some breathing. Go ahead and find a spot on your mat that's nice and comfortable, shoulders back, arms out wide, head back. Just kind of make sure you're comfortable for a second. And make sure that your pelvis is neither tucked, even though when we do core, very likely and very typically when you do core, you try to tuck your pelvis. Ideally, the tuck should be what's called reflexive, meaning when you bring your legs in, your pelvis tucks. But when you lower your legs down, it doesn't tuck so much, but it stays in its neutral posture, meaning it's neither more tucked nor more tilted than it is when you're standing or your natural neutral. If you feel very arched and high off of your ribs, drop your ribs, but don't let your pelvis come into a deep tuck. So there's pieces of information there. If you don't know if you're in a tuck or tilt, do this. Move your pelvis back and forth and feel where your tuck and tilt is. If you're way tilted, you're going to feel a lot of arching in your back. If you're too tucked, you're going to be kind of in an imprint position. Well, we don't want to be in a consistent or constant imprint. We want to be in neutral. No more tucked. Remember, the pelvis is like a bucket. If the bucket has a small amount of water in it and it's neutral, the water will neither be at the floor of the bucket nor at the mouth of the bucket and pour out. We want that pelvis. Hello, we got a little visitor again today. We want that pelvis to be level. So from here, just let your arms drop, or you can put them on the side walls of your rib cage. And let's breathe. So continue to breathe with your mouth closed and the tongue against the roof of your mouth. And I'm going to talk through this just a little bit. We're going to go for just about a minute. Now, remember, when you're breathing, you're not just pushing your belly up and down. That's fine to be able to do that, but you want to control that motion. What you want to think of is breathing outward and downward and backward, if that makes sense. You're not just trying to breathe out. You're not just trying to breathe up. You're trying to breathe outward to expand the rib walls. You should feel the breath come into the back of the diaphragm, and you should then feel a lowering. And if you have a cat on your stomach, it even adds a little bit more intensity. So breathing wide, and if you put your hands against your rib wall, you're going to feel that width of your rib cage a little bit more. Remember, not into our accessory muscles, up in our chest, shoulders, and back. Never throughout the day is there this much cat love for me. So the diaphragm isn't just a muscle. It's really a very thin-ish layer of muscle with a fascia on the front and back of it to protect, support, and stabilize it, just like it protects and supports and stabilizes the rest of us. You got about 10 seconds. Keep breathing. And so you can mold fascia more so than you can mold muscle and stuff. So working that fascia, developing the strength of the fascia, the three-dimensional stability of the fascia really helps to take in breath, to support and stabilize, not just the diaphragm, but the torso as well as the belly. All right, from here, you're just going to draw your chin to your sternum and pick your head up and hold it up. Good. Just hold that head up. Notice your belly probably pushes up a little bit. Watch that pelvis again. Notice if your tailbone tucks or arches in this position. Just hold yourself up. If you need to, you're going to bring a hand behind your head and hold it there. And we're going to inhale and exhale deliberately. So inhale, exhale, shh. Inhale, exhale, shh. You got 4 more. Inhale, exhale, shh. 3, inhale, exhale, shh. 2, inhale, exhale, shh. Last one like that, inhale, exhale, shh. Take your left hand behind your head, bring your right knee up. Now again, when your leg goes up, it wants to dump your pelvis. See if you can keep that pelvis level. I want you to be light on the load on the left foot, so it's not pushing into the ground. Hold, exhale, shh. Inhale, exhale, shh. Inhale, exhale, shh. 2 more, inhale, exhale, shh. Switch, light load on your right foot. Keep that left foot level. Inhale, exhale, shh. Slide your shoulders down. Inhale and exhale, shh. Pull your navel away from your shirt. Inhale and exhale, shh. 2 more, exhale, shh. Last one, and exhale. Shh. Lower your left foot down and just lower your head and chest down. Just relax just for a second. So you may feel that in your middle back, you may feel that in your core. I want you to feel that your core is going wide and not just bulging up or not just getting stiff, but you're feeling a leveling out of your abdomen. All right, let's bring that right knee up. Take that right knee up and press your hand into it. Left hand behind the head. Light foot on the ground. Inhale, just 4. Exhale, shh. Press in, push back. Exhale, shh. Exhale, shh. Exhale, 1 more. And exhale. Good, lower your head. Lower your left foot, bring up your right knee. Hand on your leg. Take your other hand behind your head. Exhale, 4. Exhale, shh. Push and push back. 3. Exhale, shh. Exhale, shh. Last one, exhale, shh. And lower back. This time you're going to put the hand on the outside of the knee. Left hand behind the head, head up. You're pressing out as you're pressing in. Inhale, exhale, shh. Inhale, exhale, shh. 2 more, inhale, exhale, shh. Last time, inhale, exhale, shh. You may feel that more on the diagonal, left side, right hand behind the head. Inhale, exhale, shh. Inhale, exhale, slide those shoulders. Inhale, exhale, shh. Last one, inhale, exhale, shh. And then down. Good. Grab the block, or if you want your roller, that's fine too. But if you have your block, place your block in between those knees. Good. And I want you to think of a wider block, not the more narrow block. So keep those, and I want you to think of inner thigh pressing in. So not outer thigh squeezing. Make sure your glutes are kind of soft. Inner thigh pressing in. Take your hands behind your head. Inhale, exhale, shh. Inhale, exhale, shh. 2 more, inhale, exhale. Last time, inhale, exhale, shh. And then bring those knees in. Let the knees come into the chest. Now, reflexively, as you bring your knees closer to your chest, your pelvis now will come off. Arms out, and let's just drop the knees side to side. Now, notice I'm only going maybe 10 and 2, because I'm actually trying to keep my pelvis off the ground. When I'm doing that, I'm feeling this more in my rib cage instead of in my lower back. And then draw the navel toward the spine. Again, ideally, core movements should be reflexive, not overly stiff. But you do have to be intentional in your movements. 2 more. Last one each side. Keep that tailbone slightly tucked. You're kind of above the rim of the pelvis. And in. Bring those knees into the chest. Exhale, curl the head. And then let's just rock ourselves up. Good. That's it. So think of core is not just one dimensional up, but outside, inside is all part of core. Inner thigh is a deep core muscle. It's not just it's not just part of the inner thighs to squeeze a horse or something. It's really part of every part of the body. Let's do a quick masses and spaces check. We'll lay back down and then we'll get right back up again. Sorry about that. So we're going to move on to some melt. A nice way to go about that, actually, because we did core first, You may feel lifted in your rib wall. And so breathe a little bit deeper into your rib cage and see if you can soften your rib wall. And if you have a cat happening to walk against you, just give it a little nice pat and then, push it on its way. Go ahead and let your head relax back. Noticing masses and spaces, head level with shoulders, and also weight behind the bridge of the nose. Shoulders evenly weighted, or are one of the shoulders drawn down deeper than the other? Rib cage, the shape and size of the belly. How is that even on both sides? Do you feel that arch? Sometimes, again, when we do core work, we can get almost a reflexive arch in the back. Breathing, pelvis level. Masses on the ground, hamstring masses or spaces on the ground. Check and see where you are. Calves level to the floor, feet turned out 10 and 2. Divide the body in half. Notice if the right and left sides still relatively even with each other. Remember, it's the fascia that helps to bring that hydration through the body and to protect, support, and stabilize us. And remember, all of the lymph that we use, that we have, as it's moving through the body, is really taking up and uses also that same pathway as the nerves and the veins to move things around with. All right, let's pause and bring those knees in. If you've done that little assessment, and bring yourselves up. Let's come on to the roller. Go and have your roller perpendicular to the width of your mat, and we'll start upright. Body's nice and tall, chest is lifted, and then just tuck and tilt the pelvis. Tuck and tilt, tuck and tilt. If you need to bring your hands to the floor to tuck and tilt, remember the purpose for the tuck and tilt is to give you some differentiation. We're not trying to round and flex. You're tucking the pelvis and tilting the pelvis, tucking the pelvis and tilting the pelvis. And notice what's going on here, a little bit more core as well. I've never met a person that doesn't want to do a little core. You can feel that movement underneath on the sits bones. And now let's go a little deeper. So tuck the pelvis. Now your sit bones are forward. You're kind of almost at your tailbone, your coccyx, and then take your hands back. And let's just rock back and forth. Couple inches forward, couple inches back. Breathing, slight tuck of the pelvis. Breathing, take both knees to your left. Breathing, take both knees to your right. Good, go ahead and pause, bring those knees back to center. We're gonna go a little bit deeper, drop to the top of the pelvis and come back up as high as you comfortably can without losing balance. Now, if you need to go wider or down lower, you're more than welcome to. Take your hands out so you're not loading your shoulders. Now we're on the flat side of the pelvis, and so my pelvis is slightly tucked. Breathing. So this is a nice variation of getting into those SI joints without laying back. Maybe you're dizzy, or maybe you're just not feeling like laying all the way back. Good, go ahead and pause, and we're going to stir the knees. Clockwise or counterclockwise, we'll do them both. If you need to readjust with your roller, just readjust your arms. Remember, speed is not necessarily what we're going for. It's trying to find evenness and consistency in movement. Let's go the other direction, circle around. As you circle around, you're kind of hitting those points on your back in a different direction with different shear force. All right, go ahead and pause. Let's drop. We're going to drop to the right elbow first, partly because I can see you, and then we're back and forth. Mostly, I'm not really on my right hip. I'm really on the back of my right pelvis. I'm just on the outer part of the pelvis. If your elbow's too far underneath you, if you're feeling like you're hunching, pull that shoulder back, abdomen a little bit contracted, a little sneaky core here, and you're just back and forth. We're going to get into a shear position in a second, and then pause. I just want you to bring your feet closer together, put your left hand on your left knee, open and close your right knee. So again, this is a transverse or a shearing movement. Extend your right leg, make sure you're not slouched into your right shoulder, and then lift and lower your right leg. Kind of like a leg lift for the inner thigh, but we're not going to stay here long enough to make that a thing. 2 more, last one. Good. Go ahead, and we're going to go a little bit deeper. We're going to do this left side a little bit more. So I want you to move your hip more towards the center, and then put your knee underneath you. So my right knee is underneath me, my left knee is slightly in front. So I'm more on my glute medius than I am kind of on the back side of my butt. But I'm not on the bone, I'm not on this iliac crest here. You're kind of in between. So again, not on the iliac crest, which is in the front here, and not on the bone, the greater truncator underneath. So it's a small space. Couple more. And it's probably pretty tender for most of you. Go ahead and pause. I'm going to put my hand on my roller, and I'm just going to lift and lower my bottom knee, the side that I'm leaning towards. And then I'm going to pause, and I'm going to shift my hips back, pitting my skin, shift my hips forward. So again, a cross friction drag. So it's a little sassy looking, but I'm just shifting my hips forward and shifting them back. And last one. Good. Pause. Just hold there for a second. And then let's bring that right knee up. I'm going to spin around. You guys can just flip over. So again, we're going to start kind of where we before. We're going to back it up a little bit. And our hands are going to be back. We're just going to be back on the flat of our pelvis again. So again, my arms are relatively wide, and I'm back on the flat of my pelvis. I'm really centered. My pelvis is tucked. I'm using my legs, trying not to get into my shoulders. It's really just feeling on my SI joints. So if I was on the ground, my knees would be here and I would be just doing an SI shear. Now I'm upright. I'm still on that SI area. Just do what I did. And now you're rolling against the SI joint. Same spot. Now we're going to go in a circle. So kind of like an SI joint shear, except there's a little bit more motion with this, giving a little bit more texture in a sense to the movement that we're trying to get, which is to bring hydration to those SI joints. And this side, when you do the left side, it may be more tender than the right or vice versa. And then go the other direction, circle around. Watch that you're not slumping. There's no neck involvement here. And one more time. Good. Pause. So we're going to drop down to our left elbow. I'm still on the back side of my pelvis. I haven't gotten to the outside of my hip. And I'm just kind of leaning. My right cheek is off the roller. And I'm now just going forward and back. My right hand can stay on my right knee just to keep my positioning correct. And I'm just kind of halfway between my glute medius, which is the outside of my thigh, and my pelvis. Deep hip. Good. Go ahead and pause. And we're just going to open and close that top knee. Again, you might feel this in your core a little bit. Watch that you're not slumping in too low. Pause. And then we're going to do that kind of Jane Fonda inner thigh. Keep that chest up. Remember, in melt, it's kind of about what you're not moving. You need to focus in on. You're not moving this shoulder. You're not moving the rib cage. One more. Good. So now, bend your bottom knee, get your hip so you're almost stacked here. Top leg helps you move, and it's just a couple inches forward and back. I'm down, I've got my hip bone up here and forward. I've got my truncator of my femur below, and I'm just rolling it about this much space. Not very big, but I'm on the side of my hip still. If you feel like you are on bone, you probably are. Pause, and then just lift and lower the bottom knee. Again, it's not a very big motion because the clam isn't really, it's offset clam. And then pause, put your hand on the roller, it just keeps it from moving someplace. Shift towards your hand and back. Again, your hips are kind of doing a little New Kids on the Block or something thing here. New Kids, Fresh Kids, Kids on the Block, Kids in the Hood. One of those music groups from the 90s. Good. Two more. And the last one, pause. All right, so we're going to come all the way up and we're going to go on our back. So we're going to go to the SI shear, lay all the way back first. Remember, don't get on the roller and fall backwards. Get on the ground where it's safe. Get the roller onto the hips. We're taking that roller back to the hips. Remember, the SI joints are kind of in the middle to each side of your spine, essentially, and then they're kind of dimpled in there. So we don't want the roller exactly on them. We want the SI joints above the roller. And we want it on the flat of the pelvis. So hold the roller in place, bring your knees up. If your knees are nice and straight over your hips, you're in the right position. If you feel like your knees are tucked without having done what I just did, was just move them, you're not in the right position. Or if you're feeling arched, you are not in the right position. You should feel level on top of the roller. From here, circle those knees. After our SI joint shear, we're going to do figure 4 stretch and then draw bridge. So really focusing in on this whole hip area. Sometimes you feel stared at. Like I'm feeling stared at by this cat. Couple more circles. And then pause. Let's alternate right and left. Keep the rib cage down. Keep the belly not tight, but from arching. No movement here. Sometimes I just put my hands there to kind of remember not to push up or pull in too much, just to kind of keep a neutral position. Go ahead and pause. Let's tip to the left. Now, again, remember, you're on that deep hip there, just like we were when we were upright, just from a different position. And you're doing then circles or shearing. So my right butt cheek is off the roller. Only my left outer thigh, but not my glute medius, is on the roller. The glute medius is kind of the outer part of the hip. For dancers, it's almost like that dimple section, or where you could put your hand, it's like indented. Go ahead and pause. I am not a dancer. Mine is not indented. It's probably like a Bowflex machine. Knees go up and down, just alternating those knees like a scissors. And then pause. Always pause the shear to let the body adjust. Center, let's go to the right. If you're not in the right position, just get in the right position. Clockwise or counterclockwise, don't worry about which one you do. If you feel like you always go clockwise, try to go counterclockwise or vice versa. Now you can slightly hollow the abdomen and feel like you're drawing the muscles away from your shirt or your pants. And then you're going to kind of feel the core engage, but you do not have to do any engagement of the abdominal wall. Good. Go ahead and pause. And then let's do our marching. Good. And pause. Bring both knees back to the center again. Good. We're right back here in the center. Lower your left foot. We're doing our figure 4 stretch. Now the figure 4 stretch you want to keep because we're working on length. So when we work on length, we want the pelvis level. Okay. So we have it here. You could tuck and see, because when you tuck, you kind of close this area. You shorten those hip flexors a little bit. You want to open up this space here. And take your hand, press out and away with your hand. And you can even take your other hand and pull in opposition. Open up that space towards the inguinal joint at the hip. Pause for a second. Make sure the ankles fully cross the knee. Draw the left knee in because my right knee is over. Hold my right ankle with my left hand. Pull, press into my right knee with my right hand and push with my left knee as well. Keep that pelvis level. You're going to feel this stretch on the back side of the right hip if you do this. Take a deep breath. Inhale. Exhale, push up and away. Inhale, release. Exhale, push up and away. One more time. Inhale, release. Exhale, push up and away. Press up and away. And release. Drop the left foot. Drop the right foot. Cross the left ankle over. Hold. Press outward. You can pull, even just if it's just the skin, because you're actually pulling the fascia. Remember, the fascia is a superficial layer underneath the skin above the musculature. Breathing. Keep your left hand on your left thigh. Bring your left knee in. Hold your left ankle. Press in with your right knee. Press out with your left hand. Keep that pelvis level. Take a deep breath. Relax. Exhale, pelvis level. Exhale, press up and away. Inhale. Exhale, press up and away. And release. Lower the right foot. Keep the left knee in. We're going to stay there. Pull that left knee in. Bring the right knee in. Your pelvis is now tucked. Extend the right leg. As you lower the right leg, bring the pelvis to level. Watch that you don't let the foot hang to the ground. Take the right arm over your head. Don't put the arm on the ground. It stays in line with the ear. Reach in those two directions. Pelvis is level. Work with it a little bit. Reach. Feel this on the inner deep part of the thigh and pelvis. Inner side of that pelvis. You've got the bony structure, iliac crest. Just to the inside of that. Reach. Look over your left shoulder. Take a deep breath. Inhale. Exhale, tuck your pelvis. Your leg will lift. Your right leg will lift. And then bring your right leg in. Unhook the left knee. Hook the right. Again, you can see the tuck of my pelvis. Left leg up. Left arm overhead in line with your left ear. Let your pelvis come level, almost like a diving board here. Reach in those two directions. Take a deep breath. And then exhale. Pull it in. And then bring everything together. Beautiful. Relax just for a second. Let everything go. So length isn't necessarily shearing. Length is just finding space and length for the muscles and joints. Drop your feet to the ground. Let's go lift up those hips. Let's lay our hips on the ground. Take the roller, bring it to the smile position around the outer part of the thigh, and let's go in and out with the legs. That half sweeping pattern, kind of like when you do a snow angel. Watch the back's not arched. Keep the ribs against the ground. Heels can be on the ground, or heels can be elevated like mine are right now, or they can drag the ground. If I drag the ground for me, I move my mats. So I'm just coming off the ground. You can pull the heels in, press the heels out, and you're going to feel some more twisting of that outer thigh. Two more. And last one. Pause. Take a deep breath. And then let's just move the right leg. I like doing single leg back of thigh shear because it's more relaxing. And you can really focus in on those large muscle groups of the leg a little bit more specifically. And then pause. And then the other leg. Now notice I'm not going that fast. It's not about directing the orchestra. Just go slow. And maybe you change some height a little bit. Maybe you go up and down, get low. Go as low as you comfortably can. If you do your heel dragging on the floor, that's totally fine. Mine just moves the mat too much, and so I'm keeping my heel off the floor. And then pause. Exhale. All right. Release there. So we're going to do inner thigh now. So inner thigh, we're going to do the upper inner thigh. So again, remember, when we do the upper inner thigh, when we do the typical inner thigh, we want to make sure that the roller is lined with our nose and we're lined up straight. Now, when we do the upper inner thigh, though, we're going to be turned away. So I'm going to switch my position so you can see me a little bit better. I want my leg over the roller and I'm turning away from the roller. And I'm rolling with my leg over the roller and I'm facing almost an opposite position to the roller. So I'm deep in my inner thigh. So there's a muscle group and it's an adductor. It's almost a triangular muscle that goes kind of down the thigh and attaches into the lower part of the pelvis. Pause, move that leg that's on the roller in and out. And then pause and roll the hip out and back in. I'm just kind of lifting my heel up and lowering it. And then pause. Let this one settle for a second. It's a little bit tender. I'm going to roll off. And I'm going to go to the other side. So you could be in any position you need to be. I'm just going to be on the other side. So I want to lay here on the ground. I'm putting my leg like an H over the roller. And then I'm going to move away. So I'm not even facing the roller. I'm almost in opposition to the roller. And so I'm deep in my upper thigh. And my cat is enjoying all my kind of my time with it. Yeah, right, kitty cat. Good. Right in that deep inner thigh. Good. Pause. Good. And then we're going to go back and forth. Move your leg kind of like you're swinging your leg in and out. You can keep your foot on the ground and just kind of tick-tock if you want. But I'm pinning the skin, moving that muscle in and out. Almost going across the pattern of that muscle right there. And then I'm just going to roll my hip in, roll my hip out, and kind of swooshing my hips up. One more, and the last one. As you can. There's no great points for dismount, but you got to get off the roller. All right. Come back to the roller. We're going to do an upright. Sit upright. And then lower all the way back on your back. Good. So just resting there for a second. Just let the body drop. So we're going to get back up on the roller. We got our last one. We've done these before. They're just a little tricky to get in and out of. I'm going to get on top of the roller. I'm going to show you how to get in and out of this. And then you're going to do it. And I'll do it again if you want me to. Well, I'm going to do it again. So easiest way is, again, to bring those hips up on the roller. So again, my hips are up. I'm going to bring both knees up for a moment. Watch me first. I'm going to take my left hand over my head. And I'm going to, as I'm extending, I'm going to roll onto my left side. That's all. Okay. So I was on top of the roller, knees over hips, left arm goes overhead. As I extend my left leg, I allow my right leg to come over, kind of like the shape of an H. But then I switch the H real quick. I tuck my left foot underneath and I straighten out my right leg and pull it slightly behind me. Okay, so I'm on the outer part of my thigh. From here, I'm going to take a deep breath. I can feel the stretch in my obliques. I'm going to take a deep breath, inhale, and then I'm going to exhale. I'm going to tuck my pelvis. That's it. And then I'm going to release. I'm going to roll towards the ground, roll back up a little bit, reach that right leg back, inhale, exhale, tuck. And then bring my right knee up. And however it works, I'm rolling back on my back. So now I'm back in that beginnings position. Knees over hips. I'm going to turn around, so I turn towards you so you can see me easier. You can stay how you want to. You come up. I'm just spinning around, just so I'm in the right position for you guys. I lay on the ground first. Lift my hips up, put the roller underneath the flat of my pelvis. It doesn't have to be where the SI joints are. If it's the flatter side, it does help. I'm going to bring my legs up, just like I would SI joints. Take my right arm overhead. As I'm extending my right leg, I'm allowing my left leg to roll over. Then I tuck my right leg underneath me. So I'm kind of an H or a 4 on that side. And I take my left leg as far back as I comfortably can. Okay. And I want to try to be more vertical than laying open belly. From here, I'm just going to take my top hand, place it on the front of my roller, take a deep breath, reach that back leg back, and then exhale. Tuck my pelvis. Relax, roll toward the floor, roll back up again, reach that back leg back, hold, and then exhale, tuck. And then bring my left knee up, my right knee up, I'm back on the roller, lift your hips, take the roller out from underneath you. Just settle there for a second. Good. So again, it's a pretty simple motion. You just got to let yourself fall and then tuck the bottom knee under. If you want me to redo a video on it that's separate, just text me or let me know after the fact, and then I will show you how to do it again. Just let the legs drop. Maybe you feel very still in your hips. Drop your legs all the way out. Take your arms away from center. We're just going to do a simple reassess. Take a deep breath and release. All right. So I'm noticing one thing on me, so we're going to redo a movement again. Okay. We are going to redo drawbridge. So let's bring that roller underneath. Lift those hips up. Bring the right knee and left knee up. Let's drop the right knee towards the chest. Draw the right knee in. Extend the left leg up. I don't typically go back on this stuff. I kind of just tell you to do it. But I noticed it on me, so it's very likely it's on you as well. My pelvis felt tipped up. So I'm just going to readjust my hips again, my iliac, my psoas. My left leg is up, my right knee is bent. I'm going to lower my left leg. Feel this kind of diving board action of my left leg. Hold and anchor my right knee into place. Left arm overhead, but not hanging. Turn to my right, take a deep breath. Now we work the tuck of the pelvis on the exhalation. Take a deep breath. Exhale, tuck. Bring your head center. Bring your left knee in. Just hug underneath it. Right leg goes up. Right leg goes out. Why don't I just stick my right leg out? Because I want to know how much flexibility my body is giving me in my top of my hip. If I shoot that leg out and assume I might get too much and it will be in the wrong position. So always go from the top down. Take my right arm over my head. Secure my left leg. Watch the bounce on this leg. It should feel kind of bouncy, not over slack. Take a deep breath. Inhale. Head to the left side. Take a deep breath. Exhale, tuck. And then bring your feet back into center. Look at the feet. See if the feet are lined up, which is a great sign that the hips are more level. Let's drop the right knee and the left knee. Pause. Take that roller out now. Now lower the back into the ground. Now extend the legs. So I don't know where you were in prepping yourself, getting back on the ground, but I felt arched in my lower back as soon as I took my legs back to the ground after we had done the side hip shear. So I wanted to reset it with using the drawbridge in order to really release that hip flexor. Okay, so remember, you can always go back to another movement that you noticed was had a good reassessment for you. Okay, take your arms out nice and wide to a T or to kind of away from the midline. And then just notice how your head weight is. We're just doing masses of spaces, how your ribs and shoulders are. If you don't have a cat on your pelvis, how your pelvis is feeling. And then straight down into your legs. Ideally, you don't have a cat sitting on you. Go ahead and just slide your right foot and left foot in. You can drop your right knee and left knee to the sides. Remember, always returning to our breath can help reset our system without doing any extra movement. Pause. Let's take one arm overhead, shift our legs to the side, and bring ourselves up. And we are done. I know it kind of seemed like almost an abrupt ending, but what I want you to notice is how powerful just the hips are. What changes can go on above and below by just focusing in on this kind of lower, deep hip area. Give it the time it deserves. Allow your hips to release. We sit on them, walk with them, move them, shake them, whatever, all day long. Allow yourself to soften and notice what goes on for the rest of you. All right. Have a great day, guys. Come on, little guy.